What's going on, everybody? Today I have a bit of a guide to getting into niche fragrances really on a budget. I mean, very much entry-level pricing, but some serious quality and unique scents that you're not going to find from a typical designer house. And these are fragrances that I actually wear. These are not things that you'll spray once and be like, oh, that's so interesting and unique, but I would never wear it. So this is kind of a video that I wish I would have had a few years ago whenever I first started to dabble in niche fragrances. So hopefully it will be helpful to you. As we get into this, please remember to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that yet. Give the like button a click if you like the video, and let me know down in the comments what are some niche fragrances you've tried that you are impressed with what you got for the price you paid. So let's go ahead and dive in. First off, I think it would just not make any sense to begin anywhere other than the House of Manera. Manera fragrances, I think retail are about $180 US, but at discounters, most Manera fragrances, if they've been out at least, say, a year, you can get them for $100 or less, sometimes way under $100 for a big 120 milliliter bottle. So I'm going to mention a few Manera fragrances. Probably the one that most people would be most appealing to most people is going to be Cedrat Boisé. They now have an intense version of Cedrat Boisé, which is a pretty mass-pleasing citrus woody fragrance that is in the style of something like Creed Aventus, but there's some real differences. So this is actually the intense version, the one that I prefer out of the two. You can usually get this right around $100, maybe even a little bit less. And this is basically a long-lasting, high-quality, almost designer sensibility niche fragrance that pretty much everybody's going to love. I've gotten some good compliments and some sort of surprising compliments while wearing this because it just grabs people. It's sweet, it's fresh, it's got a good dose of sweet citrus and fruits in the opening, but then it's also got this sort of woody, leathery, even a touch of oud. And so this is a perfect place to start if you're brand new to niche fragrances. It's got a little something niche and it's got a whole lot that's mass-pleasing. Intense Cedrat Boisé, or you could just pick up the original. You'd probably be happy with either. And also from the House of Manera, if you want to go a step farther into something that is not as mass-pleasing, something that's got a lot more of that sort of niche punch to it, you might want to go with something like Red Tobacco, which is this explosion of smoky, kind of ashy tobacco. There's a ton of spiciness. There's some oud. There's leather. There's just a lot of rich, dark, powerful fragrances. And there's even now also an intense flanker of Red Tobacco. Their intense flankers are Extrait de Parfum, so long-lasting, thick oil concentration. This is actually intense Red Tobacco, and it is a kind of leather-dominant version of Red Tobacco. It's actually smoother. It's not as spicy. It's not as oudy. So maybe even a little more mass-pleasing, but it's still insanely strong, very long-lasting, very powerful, tobacco, leather, spicy, even some oud, intense Red Tobacco. That's going to take you a little further down the line into kind of true niche territory. One more from Manera that is in the realm of mass-pleasing, but it's still pretty unique. I don't have anything else that smells like this. This is kind of an almond lemon fragrance, and one that's gotten a lot of love in the fragrance community. It's called Oud Lemon Mint, but the oud and the mint are really minor players to the almond and, of course, the lemon. It's sort of a sweet, almost gourmand lemon fragrance with a very noticeable almond note with some powderiness. There is a touch of oud, but it's the oud like you would find in something like Tom Ford Oud Wood, a little bit of a fresher take on oud, and a touch of mint as well, just enough to give it a little aromatic tinge. It's a unique fragrance, and again, one that smells fantastic. You can wear pretty much all year round. Oud Lemon Mint. All right. The next house I want to mention, this is one that I would say quality of fragrances is honestly on another level than Manera. With Manera, you're still in the realm of like, you know, there are very high-end designers that probably dance in the same arena as something like a Manera. But whenever you look at the house of Nishan, you're kind of going a little step further. It is at retail significantly more expensive, and Manera's got some out there fragrances as well as Nishan does, but this is a house that many of their fragrances are going to be very high quality, and what I mean is a noticeable use of naturals in their fragrances that I haven't really found in Manera. But here's the thing. On discounter websites like Fragrance Buy, Joma Shop, Fragrance Net, you can often find Nishan fragrances, again, for about that $100 price point. And they are super strong, you know, very long-lasting, high-performing. And one of the most popular from Nishan is a fragrance, again, that's compared to Aventus, although I think it's very different from Aventus. I'm talking about Nishan Hasavat. And this is a tart citrus fragrance with a very potent, sweet green heart. There's a green aromatic heart that mixes with these sort of tart, sweet, almost sort of sour, sweet citruses in the opening. And then you've got some nice, a little bit of woodsiness and an earthy patchouli in the base. In the opening, you are going to get that sort of sweet pineapple, citrus kind of vibe that you get from Aventus, but that sweet green heart takes over, and that mysterious patchouli, that earthy patchouli starts to dance with those. This fragrance will last you 12 plus hours easily, and 3 or 4 sprays is going to be the equivalent to about 12 sprays of a modern batch of Creed Aventus, and you can get these 50 ml bottles for $100 or less easily online. Highly, highly recommend this fragrance, Nishan Hasavat. Absolutely love it. And one that is, again, a little deeper into what I would call niche territory, with a very noticeable, marked increase in naturals. This fragrance, you smell the quality that absolutely separates it from 99% of designer fragrances on the market, clones, etc. This is one that you know you're wearing something that was expensive to make and that was worth the money that you paid for it. And this one's pretty unique. I'm talking about Fan Your Flames, and this is actually a tobacco, cognac, it's actually tobacco and rum and coconut fragrance. And so this one has got a good bit of sweetness in the opening with coconut rum. It's going to remind you of like a tropical drink. But then you go down into the dry down and you have this very noticeable tobacco, a very textured tobacco, something that's got a lot of noticeable quality mixing with some tonka bean and some other sweet notes. It's just so unique. It doesn't smell like hardly anything else that I have in my collection, but the quality, the texture of this fragrance is on a whole nother level than, you know, easily 99 out of 100 fragrances that I own. Very unique. This is something special here. Fan Your Flames. And again, you can get this for about $100 on discounters if you go with the 50 ml, and 4 sprays is all you need for a good 10 hours worth of performance. All right. I'm going to touch on a few others that are, niche houses that are super, super affordable. For instance, many of you know that the House of Geron is technically a niche house. They don't make anything other than fragrances, and their fragrances are of an unusual quality. There is something special about these fragrances. The Geron Idial line is known for an almond note, and then different fragrances will mix other things with that, a cherry, tobacco, some leather, some various things like that. This is Idial EDP. It's L'Homme Idial EDP, and this one is basically that beautiful sweet almond, as well as you've got cherry, and you've got a leather as well, a very sort of noticeable leather that mixes with almond and cherry. It's a sweet, super mass-pleasing, not at all challenging, unique fragrance. Now this one, I think I go nose blind to. I don't get the insane performance with this that I would from something like a Nishan fragrance, but if you just want very high quality, gorgeous French perfumery, you're going to get it right here with Geron Idial. And another house, one that I only own one fragrance from this house, and there's some others that I'm looking at that I'm interested in. This is a niche house that's got some credibility as far as their quality goes. And I got this fragrance for, I think, about $65 on one of the discounters. I don't remember which one. But the house is Cartier, Barcelona, and this is Elborne. And this is basically a vanilla-based fragrance. It's a somewhat boozy vanilla-based fragrance. I haven't sprayed this one in a little while. You get right off the top this sort of a sticky, sweet, almost vanilla extract kind of vanilla with a good dose of some sort of like a bourbon or some sort of like a brown liquor note. This one, I would say the quality of the smell, you're going to know this is something that was not cheap to make. The downside with this one on me is that it, again, doesn't perform anywhere near what some of these other niche fragrances are going to perform. But if you want something that will blow you away, that smells amazing, that's super affordable, again, these are all in designer level prices. Go with Cartier Barcelona and try out Elborne, a beautiful vanilla fragrance. All right, next up, I'm going to mention a house that out of the small niche collection that I have, you know, I've got a dozen or so niche fragrances. This is a house that the quality of this fragrance, I don't have anything else that matches it, nothing else that touches it. This is not hype. This is just, you know, developing a nose for these kind of things through the years. You will notice there is something of another level, something special with the house of Naso. And this is Naso Parfum. And as you can see, there's a little bottle. All of their fragrances are 30 ml, so they are extrait de parfum, very potent, very rich, very sort of high quality, valuable liquid in this beautiful glass bottle. And the bottles are a work of art in and of themselves. But this one is sort of a sweet, gourmand, magnolia, chocolatey, oudy fragrance. And so right in the beginning, you get this sort of vanilla, honey, magnolia, very interesting. It's a floral fragrance done in a gourmand way. To me, it doesn't smell feminine. It doesn't smell, some floral fragrances give me a headache. This just smells almost like a dessert, almost like something that you could eat. And once you get past that magnolia in the opening, you start to go down into a chocolatey oud. And this is a fragrance where the oud in this fragrance made me realize that almost all other oud fragrances I have are synthetic oud, whereas there is something natural in this one. And whenever I keep saying the word natural, I mean there is a different kind of texture, a different kind of three-dimensional quality of the way the sillage works and the way that it's almost like you can taste and see the properties of the oils and the raw materials that are used in this fragrance. I get that with some of the Nishan fragrances as well. It's just, we're dealing with a different kind of materials, and it's very evident in something like this. There's another one that's a great performer. If you go with about 4 sprays of Naso Parfum or Black Afghano or Barwanda or any of sort of the ones that are well known, there's others that I'm not even familiar with, but you're going to get something on another level, and you can usually find these fragrances in right around that $100 price range. I think I paid right at $100 for this, maybe even, I think, including shipping. And this is an experience. This is a work of art and it's not hype, it's just my honest opinion. This will change the way that you feel about fragrances, especially if you're new to niche perfumery. And I would even consider myself to be new-ish to niche perfumery. It's a small percentage of my collection are, what I would consider to be niche fragrances. Highly recommend Naso Parfum as a great starting place into that incredible world of art. All right, now the next thing I want to mention is I think I've mentioned about 9 niche fragrances, but there's one more category I want to mention, and that is that maybe you don't even want to spend $100 on a fragrance. Maybe you're just interested, what's the big deal about niche perfumery? Because actually niche perfumery often is you're paying for the quality, but often you're paying for something unique. It's niche, as in it really only appeals to a certain category of people. And so I have here a couple DNAs that I would consider to be niche if you just want to expand your horizons a little bit, something that you're not going to find at a regular department store in the designer area, something that's just different, that a niche of people like, and you just want to know what's all the fuss about. So one that I would recommend would be something like Paris Corner Celestial Amir. This is a clone of Ganymede. Ganymede is a very unique niche fragrance that is not for everyone. It's sort of the smell of wet rocks, leather, and saffron. It's kind of strange with some citrus as well. I think orange, saffron, leather, and wet rocks. That's kind of what it smells like. And so Amir Celestial by Paris Corner is a clone of Ganymede. There is another clone now of Ganymede that I understand is also pretty good, but this one's pretty good. This one, it doesn't smell as natural as the original Ganymede, but it smells like Ganymede. It's unique. The first 5 times I wore it, I really didn't like it, but after experimenting with it for about a year since it's come out, I actually do like it now, and I'm starting to, as the weather's warming up, thinking about wearing this and layering it with blue fragrances, which is what I usually do, which is weird, but to me it's just a great combo with an aromatic blue. So Amir Celestial, a clone of Ganymede, to give you a taste of something that is different, to see whether you would like it. All right, another one that I'll mention. This is an oud fragrance from kind of an indie clone house, and this is a house that has quality on the level of some of the niche fragrances that I just mentioned. And I'm not exaggerating. There is something different about the oils that are used by this house, and you can tell it in the texture, in the performance, in the fragrance. You know that you're not dealing with a $30 fragrance here. At least it doesn't smell like that. So this one is a clone of Tom Ford's Plum Japonais, which again is one of those fragrance profiles it's unique. It's not for everybody. Some people will probably hate it. I actually kind of love it. This is a boozy plum fragrance with spice and oud. And so I'll show you. This is Zoha Aromas Wild Plum. Zoha is the indie clone house I was talking about, and the notes are Japanese plum, cinnamon, saffron, liquor, plum blossom, and oud. And it literally smells like a sweet liquor with plum, so sort of a fruity, sweet liquor. And then as soon as it starts to dry down a little bit, you get this spicy oud that starts to come out and mix with that boozy plum. I think it's gorgeous. It's mesmerizing. I have no idea if anyone around me likes the smell of it or not, but for me, it's an entertaining fragrance to wear because it's just so different. Highly recommend this one, Wild Plum by Zoha Aroma. And then finally, one that I'll mention that's again in that category of, you might like it, you might not. It's not for everybody, but this is why niche perfumery exists, something that will super appeal to a niche of people. And that the fragrance original would be Babycat, which is a gourmand vanilla with animalic leather and some very prominent woods. And so this one is a clone of Babycat by Arabiat Prestige. This is called Nile Queen. And again, this one, the first several times that I wore it, I didn't like it. I sprayed too much. This is a strong fragrance, and it's one that, for me, if I spray 3 sprays in the same place, the woods and leather do something funky, turns into like a pencil shaving smell. But if I spray 4 sprays spread out around my body, I get this delicious gourmand vanilla mixing with a very realistic leather. So vanilla and leather. It's sort of like if you were to take you know, something like Tom Ford's Tuscan leather and then spray on something like Mercedes-Benz Club Black, which is like a pure vanilla fragrance. That's what it smells like, but you've got to spread it out or it gets too potent and turns weird to me. But if you just want to try something different, this would be one that's inexpensive, about 40 bucks, a Babycat Prestige Niel Queen. There's also one by Fragrance World called Babycat, which I understand to be good as well, but I looked for it for a long time, could never find it, and I'm happy with this one because it's also a good clone of Babycat. So again, the point of this video was just to say, hey, if you want to know what niche fragrances are about, here's legitimately a great place to start. Most of these you can get for $100 or less, so the price of a designer, and this is a good mix of things that are going to expose you to something that's on another level than what you would normally get if you go out to the fragrance counter at a Belk. These are things that kind of have earned a spot in niche perfumery. But I would love to know in the comments, what is a niche fragrance that you've gotten a hold of and you've been like, oh yeah, this, I understand why this costs a little more, or I understand what the fuss is about, especially if it's something you got at a good price. And remember to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that. I've got videos coming out every couple days, and I hope you'll join us. I am Justin, and this has been SCENTS.